I've started to refer to the character of Halbrand as like the discount Aragorn, the budget Aragorn, the Kmart version of Aragorn, if you will, because Rings of Power episode 3 revealed to us that he is this king in hiding of the Southland people and all this mystery around him and everything else. But while he might be the Kmart version of Aragorn, the discount version, he's not a nice guy like Aragorn was. This guy's a lying scoundrel and is not above beating the crap out of people and cheating and lying to gain what he wants. So we're going to dive into that today in today's Rings of Power rant. Who is this knockoff Aragorn character? Who is Halbrand? Based on what we know of him so far, why does he exist? Why do we need him? Why it seems kind of silly that they have this character, and what he may be for the rest of the show. We don't know yet, but we are going to be discussing that today. If this is your first time here, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and do me a solid. If you want to support the channel like the rest of these amazing people who keep this channel moving onwards and upwards, drop a super thanks down there. You can also join over at our Patreon page if you want to become a patron of what we're building with that world map behind me, the world of the Weave of the Void. Links are down below. You can also join in a live stream and do super chats and stickers while I'm streaming. All are great ways to contribute to this channel's growth and support me as I continue to grow as a content creator and streamer. Thanks so much. Onwards and upwards into the episode now, ladies and gentlemen. Who is Halbrand? Well, we got revealed in episode 3 that Halbrand is the king in hiding, or at least he is the descendant of the king of the Southland people, a king who once upon a time served Morgoth, which means that much like Aragorn had the bloodline of his people handed down to him over the generations, this man as well is apparently suffering from the same, whatever you call one. If you want to call it a curse, you can call it just family problems. He has this bloodline, and he's being lumped in with all these people who may or may not be evil, because once upon a time they served Morgoth. And if you listen to the Watchwarden, um, who has said that all people of this region need to be watched over, not because of what they did, but because of who they still are, that is, human beings who are weak and can be controlled by Morgoth. Um, Melkor, then he was potential evil. Now, the difference between Halberd and Aragorn is Aragorn was an upright man. He was very noble in all of his actions. He was not a cutthroat or a thief, and he didn't do things for his own personal benefit. That is not the case with Halbrand. Halbrand does all sorts of stuff that are all about Halbrand and only Halbrand. And there's a great article here which we're going to be pulling from over at nerdist.com. I'm going to have a link to that in the description down below, so don't forget to read this at your leisure. By the way, this is the perfect time for me to shout out. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to check out my Mondays in Middle Earth series, which airs every Monday at 11 a.m. Central as we read through The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, and The Silmarillion to start to understand better what's going on with the Rings of Power, or better yet, what they're not doing with the Rings of Power, and but characters that are way better than Halbrand because they actually exist in the books. Because this guy right here is just invented. So let's check out the Nerdist article because it is pretty good. Who is Halbrand? Where does he come from? Well, he doesn't have any problem hiding the fact that he's holding back important information about himself. He wants Galadriel to know he's hiding something vital, and since everything he does and says seems to be intentional, everything we know about him might be a lie, because a lot of people theorize that this is Sauron. That's the big theory, is that this guy is Sauron in disguise, coming from the Southlands where all the orc activity is happening, and what we now know to be Mordor, the kingdom rising. Um, Halbrand says his people have no king, etc., etc., etc. But where were Halbrand and his ship going? And it explains here that really the only place that men would have been sailing would have been to Numenor, which puts him on a trajectory to go to Numenor in the first place. And if they do pull anything from the lore, it's the fact that Aragorn seduced the people of not Aragorn. I'm so sorry, I made a mistake and I said the wrong name. Sauron. It's been a long morning, ladies and gentlemen. Sauron manipulated the people of Numenor with lies and deceit, and convinced them to wage war and on the Valar, and got the island sunk. Right, so um, he hasn't confirmed that he was sailing there, but it seems like the logical place for him to go. And once he's arrived there with Galadriel, the whole episode 3 is him going on about how this place is paradise. Why would I ever want to go back to the crappy place that I came from, and he's trying to convince the Smiths to let him work for them. He's like, I can create better things than you've ever seen. Oh, so he's skilled with smithing? Oh, well, isn't Sauron skilled in smithing and ringcraft? And wait a minute, I mean, everything they're doing seems to be pointing people to want to believe that this could be Sauron in some way, shape, or form. It also could be the greatest ruse in the history of the television show because they're trying to make it so pointedly evident that this guy is Sauron, and then they're going to do some sort of a plot twist at the end, and it's going to be somebody who we never suspected in the first place. Who knows at this point? Um, he has a neck pouch, and on the neck pouch is a symbol. And we come to find out during episode 3 that this symbol is the symbol of an ancient king of the Southlands. And he apparently is a descendant from that king. Um, he says that he found it on a dead man's body. I don't buy that for a minute, or he may have just got it from his descendant who was a dead man at the time. There's also appears to be some sort of a pouch inside of it, but we don't know what's in it. But the big thing is that is Halbrand a hero or a villain in this show? I would say he's definitely a villain in my mind. This is a guy that's not above lying, cheating, stealing, manipulating, telling half truths to get what he wants. And he very much is all about self fulfillment and self gain. He's not doing anything here for the betterment of others. It's all about what's good for him and what's going to get him the best thing. And matter of fact, when they ask about at the beginning, they say when Aragorn would have never done what Halbrand does to survive the sea worm. Halbrand abandons his companions to death because and he says, I'm the sort who knows how to survive. Right? He has no qualms throwing his friends or his other companions, other survivors to the wind. Aragorn would have never done that. Aragorn would have given his last drop of blood to save the innocents, to save those around him. So that's the first real clue in my mind that this guy is not the hero that Aragorn was. So even though we can call him the Kmart version of Aragorn, he's not. He's definitely an evil bastard. Um, and he hasn't used his skills for any noble reasons so far. He's just manipulating everybody. Now, the big question here is Halbrand really Sauron in disguise? Well, I don't know. There's some theory crafting that's going on here. Um, he says Sauron is dangerous because he manipulates the will of others to his own goals, like Halbrand does. He can control the deadliest creatures to do his bidding, creatures like a sea worm. Um, yeah. He also knows the power of Numenorian kingdoms possess in terms of his own ideas of ruling Middle Earth. He also knows the enemy resides in the Southland because that's where he's building his tower in Mordor. So even though Galadriel and other people don't know anything about the orcs, he does somehow before anyone else. Because oh yeah, the orcs were the ones who attacked my kingdom. Um, so yeah, he's definitely telling lies to tell truth. So there's a lot of good information here. Um, and if he were to corrupt someone, it would make total sense now why he would have saved Galadriel from drowning in episode 2, and that was the point that I made about that scene, which was a completely pointless scene, except it bonds her to his character. And I pointed out in my review of episode 2, I said the reason, or maybe it was episode 1, I don't remember now. No, it's episode 2 because they get picture up with the boat in episode 2. When she falls off and she's being drowned and she's dragging down to the depths and he swims down and cuts her free and brings her back up, I remarked what a pointless scene that was, other than to bind her character to his. And if this is Sauron in disguise, then he's already accomplished his number one goal, which is to take the orc's number one enemy and make an ally out of her and seduce her over to his side because he rescued her and now she wants to help him escape prison and fight against the Numenorians. Because this episode ends with her saying, he's like, "How are we going to get out of here? And, you're going to need an army and ships." And she's like, "Oh, leave that to me." And yeah, 'cause she's already manipulating Elendil to getting her what she wants. So, all in all, I don't think he's a good guy. We can definitely call him the budget version of Aragorn, but unlike Aragorn, this guy's not a good. It's like Transformers were good guys, GoBots were also good guys. This is not a good guy GoBot version. This is like a scummy kind of sketchy dude who's doing anything to get his own personal benefits out of things. And whether or not he's Sauron, I don't have an opinion on. I feel like if he is Sauron, it's going to be the worst written kind of reveal ever because they're making it so obvious with the actions that he's taking, that would be ridiculous if they did it. But everything else they've done has been ridiculous to date as well. I don't know. Thoughts below. If you want to support the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow along, hit that super thanks button, join in a live stream, hop on over to the Patreon page, and I'll see everybody in the next episode. Happy viewing as Leia jumps on the bed. See you guys. Until next time.